Hey friends, have you ever wondered if your smartphone is making you dumber? Well, that is something that I have been asking myself, so let's delve into that today. Now, I want to welcome you here. I'm Diana Dodd. I am a registered nurse and a certified health and life coach. And really, I'm just trying to live my best life and help as many others do the same thing. So I'm glad that you tuned in today. I think this is a great question to ask us. What is going on in our lives these days with all this technology that we have literally at our fingertips? And I think it's a great question. What is the smartphone doing for us? So, last week I talked about social media and that constant engagement that those platforms and apps call us to do, and Facebook in particular was something that I was recognizing I wanted to step away from. So if you missed that video, I encourage you to give it a peek because it may give you some thoughts that you might want to bounce around as you evaluate what's serving you in your life. The videos, a couple before that I have done, really focused on pruning out of your life, quitting what you needed to quit, pruning out or decreasing, cutting out maybe completely things that aren't serving you anymore. And this is a recurring theme, I think, for me, because it's been part of my journey, of recognizing that what served me before didn't necessarily keep serving me, whether that was in my nursing career, in my career as a health and wellness educator, and now as a certified coach. I've had to do a lot of pruning along the years. I am in my 50s now, yay me. I've gotten to this point in life, and I say yay me literally because I'm really proud to have gotten to this point in life. I had to get up a lot of times, day after day, to get to 50 years, 51 years actually, on this planet, and every day is a gift. Even the bad ones, the challenging ones, those are the ones that really have grown me the most. So I'm thankful for every one of them. And at this point in life, for the wisdom that I can look back on and see that those years have imparted, specifically because of the things that I have studied and learned about. So when I say, is the smartphone making us dumber, I don't want that to be an offensive comment. I'm not saying that anyone out there in particular is not as smart as you're supposed to be. Please don't take it that way. But what is it doing to us? The idea of digital minimalism is increasing. Minimalism has been popular for a long time, and you can see that with people like Marie Kondo, who talked about to take everything out of your closet, look at each item and ask yourself, does this bring me joy? And there's a tremendous amount of wisdom in her approach and in that approach of minimalism. If it doesn't bring you joy, then eliminate it, because the clutter in your life, the clutter even in your closet, is taking a toll on you and on your energy and your productivity. So going back to digital minimalism, which I'm realizing may become a specialty for me in helping people navigate this, is the idea of, do we need to declutter our minds? Did you ever feel that you're just spread like hot butter? Last week I worded it as I had felt fractured, with the idea of social media and this undercurrent of, am I posting this particular family event or some milestone with our daughter Fiona? Anytime you're doing something, is it filtering through your mind like, I need to post this on my platform, and trying to get that right picture? So the idea of decluttering your mind, because there's something called attention residue. When I heard that, I thought, wow, that's a really powerful phrase, attention residue. Did you ever think about each time you give your attention to something and you pull your mind back? Let's say your phone goes off and you get a text message, so you look at that, and maybe you answered, or maybe you just decide you're going to do it later. Either way, that has been brought to your attention. And then let's say you get back to cooking the dinner or helping your child with homework, or maybe you're in email, maybe you're at work, or whatever the other tasks that you're doing, there's still attention residue from what you just glanced at. And when we have ourselves bouncing from item to item to item, things that of different pieces of attention, it builds our undercurrent level of anxiety. So, the smartphone, the iPhone specifically, came out in 2007. I was listening to a fascinating talk that Steve Jobs, of Apple, his original ideal for the smartphone was an elegant technology that brought the music of the iPod together with a device that could make phone calls, and you could send text messages. He wanted it to be an elegant experience to do those things on the same device. You only had to have one thing in your pocket. He himself loved music, and he loved to be able to make phone calls, so that was part of the big basis for that. And so this technology of a smartphone was never imagined to be something that was going to capture our attention constantly. It was supposed to just enrich our lives. And originally, Apple wasn't going to have any other apps. They want like 4 walls around their technology, and no other app or developer was originally in that. But then things evolved over time, right? And so now we have all these extra apps, all the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, and there's stuff out there that I don't even know what it is because I have been resistant for a long time. So the idea of what happens to us when we have all these things at our fingertips and we have attention residue from bouncing from one thing to the next, raising this undercurrent of anxiety. And I can't tell you how many times clients that I'm talking with or other people in my life, and even me myself, people have articulated at this level an undercurrent of tension and anxiety and stress. Yeah, and can you resonate with that too? And I find it for me, if I'm trying to juggle too many things, like let's say I'm hosting a dinner and my child's peppering me with questions, or the phone has rung and I have text messages and things that are important, and I'm trying to respond to those, but yet I'm doing other things at the same time. Like how many times have you been cutting up something, vegetables or a fruit or whatever it is for your dinner, but yet then you have to wipe your hands off and answer something that came up on the phone that you felt like you needed to do right then, and then something else happens, and then something else takes your attention, and then something else, and you get to that point where you're just more and more and more stressed about it. There's an old commercial, Calgon, take me away. Anybody remember that? Where the lady just had too many things coming at her with work and all these responsibilities and home and family and the dog, and she just wanted to go take her bubble bath. We're never disengaging during our daytime hours. Typically, our devices are in our pocket, pinging and dinging and ringing, or we are in any downtime moment opening it up. When you're in the line at the store, or if you have a few minutes in the car, you're even in an elevator. People get out the cell phone, right? And they'll check their news feed, or they'll check an email, or they'll reply to a text. So we're no longer allowing ourselves to get bored. And instead, we are constantly keeping ourselves engaged with input. So, this whole thing of input, your brain has 2 different aspects to it. So this to me is really important, and I want to kind of stress this. We have an input mode where we take in the thoughts and the ideas of someone else, but then we need time to process that. Like right now, you're taking in these thoughts and ideas from me, and you're hearing me, and maybe if something else is catching your attention, you may not be hearing everything. How many times have you had to rewind a video or a show that you're watching, or whatever it is, because you missed something, right? So the ability to fully focus and listen and catch it completely is becoming an increasingly lost art and a lost thing. So when you take it in, that's only the first part, but then you have to process this information, and you have to actually think about it and kind of ruminate on it, and how does this affect, or could it affect your life in a positive way? What do you really think about that? And that only happens in our moment of solitude. So this idea of attention residue and not having downtime, it's completely crippling our ability to do what's referred to as deep work. And to do something that's very focused, deep work is becoming a lost art. And I think to a degree, we maybe aren't even aware of it, but yet on the other hand, I think people are becoming more aware of it because of that anxiety that I was talking about. So there are a bunch of examples that you can find online where people have written about or maybe videoed their experience of, let's say they've lost their phone, or it's been stolen, or it got broken, or whatever, and then they have this experience where they didn't have a phone at all. And of course, that first day or two, there was a little bit of panic, and they were very anxious about being disconnected and not having the perceived conveniences of being connected, or having their maps to get them places, or that connection access. But then there's a really interesting thing. Because of that forced sabbatical from their phone, a lot of times people didn't want to replace it right away. There are people that recognized the enhancement to their life of being away from that device. So your quality of life is what we're really talking about here, and the change in our humanity that has happened because of this fracturing of our focus, the attention residue of bouncing from one thing to the next, and constantly being in input mode, constantly taking in information and never having the downtime to process it. When was the last time you allowed yourself to get bored? Where you just sat and thought with your own thoughts and did not go back into input mode. So the importance of solitude, I don't think, can be underestimated. Solitude really is the freedom from input from others. Did you ever think of it that way? That your solitude is the freedom from the input of others. And so going back into processing mode and allowing yourself the option of thinking about things and thinking about any information that you may have just taken in, or just kind of thinking about your life. So some of the most successful people will set aside this kind of deep work and deep thinking time early in the day, and they actually have to get up really early sometimes to do it before the rest of the world is awake. And you know, these people are looked at as these mega achievers, but really what they've done is recapture what we had and what was our baseline to begin with. So I think that the challenge is going to be to choose to how do we disconnect? How do we allow ourselves those times of solitude? And you know, one real good way to do it is just don't pick up the phone at any given moment when you have a little downtime. When you are in the car, in traffic, sitting, if there's a big traffic jam, for example, and you know you're going to be sitting for a few minutes, don't get on your device. You don't have to always make a phone call or do something while you're driving. There's times maybe just to focus on the driving. If you are waiting to pick up something at the drugstore, if you're standing in line at the grocery store, just be present in that moment. You know, see how many times you pick up your phone for just a minute and recognize, are those times that you might be better served instead not to reach for that device, you know? So I heard it said one time that if only we treated our Bibles the way we do our cell phones, you know, that we would look at it multiple times a day, that we would turn to it in any time of stress or need, or any time we had a question, if we would open the Bible instead. If we would turn around and drive back home to get our Bible, like we do our phone. Like, how many times has anybody ever done that, right? I've done that, where if I forgot my phone at home somehow, immediately I would turn around and go and get it. And what if I did that same thing with what I hold as the holiest book and God's love letter to me and the instruction manual for my life, yet I don't do with that what I want to do. So, you know, I think these are some thoughts that are really worth thinking about, and looking at the concept of minimalism when it is applied to the digital minimalism of your life, and looking at your attention and how has it been fractured and spread out, and how instead you might be better served, and I'm certainly going to be better served because I'm starting to do it already, to not be fractured, you know, to take those times of increasing solitude. And you know, for a long time, when I drive in the car, I often don't even put on music. I want to just have that peace and that quiet. And I think a lot of parents could resonate with that with me, because sometimes you don't get much quiet when you're with your family and your child specifically. And I do enjoy that. It's my own little bubble, right, that I'm driving around in. And I love so much to be out in nature. You know, I love to come outside here to this beautiful garden and just listen to nature and the birds and the water of the waterfall and the wind in the trees, and just enjoy this kind of solitude. Is extremely restorative. So, you know, is the smartphone making us dumber? There's a ton of data that says it is, because it's removing our ability to do that deep and focused work. So I'm putting out the recommendation for myself and for anyone else to join me in this, of setting aside some time early in your day where you take that an hour or more of that quiet solitude to think. To tap into a higher power is a brilliant way to start that, but just to think, just to be still, and to remember that you have a creator who loves you, to me is a very important part of my solitude time. But I think just taking that time to tune out the input of others, stop all the input that you're taking in, and instead allow yourself some time to process. So guys, I hope this was helpful. You know, if you haven't seen that other video I did last week on social media, and I shared my thoughts on why I want to leave the social media platform. Be sure to give that a peek. I hope it's a blessing for you. And then the videos before that on quitting what you need to quit and pruning out of your life what isn't serving you, the other videos, you're going to see a theme in these that can really, I hope, enrich your life, because I want to put out content that's serving me, and so I want to pay that forward and put it out for you guys as well. So thank you again for tuning in today. And if you need any support or help with this, or a way to pull apart the issues in your own life, that's what a coach is for. So I would encourage you to reach out to me if you don't have somebody that can listen to you in a really focused way and help you now navigate the challenges that you may be going through, whatever those may be. You're not alone. I would love to connect with you, and I always start with a free initial consult. If you're local, I'll invite you here to the garden. If you are far away from me, we can jump on a video call where we can spend some good, focused time together and get you where you need to be. So thanks, friends. I appreciate you, and I want you to remember that life is precious and you are precious. So treat yourself accordingly and live it like you mean it, and do your best, most focused work on your life. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon.